to the Country Watch Political Intelligence Briefing Quick Hits, a weekly briefing of hot stories across the world in brief. I'm Denise Youngblood-Coleman, the Chief Editorial Officer and Senior International Affairs Analyst at Country Watch. This week, Ukraine, Russia, the United Kingdom and the United States are the featured countries. At issue, the buildup of Russian military forces on the border with Ukraine. On January 22, 2022, an assessment by the United Kingdom Foreign Office indicated that Russia was considering an invasion of Ukraine. The United Kingdom Foreign Office's assessment also noted that Russian intelligence officers had plans to install Yevhen Murav, a pro-Kremlin former member of the Ukrainian parliament, as president. It should be noted that in late 2021, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had warned of a Russian coup plot against him. It was unclear if that alleged plot was the same as the one being discussed in the United Kingdom's assessment. 2 days later, on January 24, 2022, United States President Joe Biden held a secure video conference call in the Situation Room with European allies to discuss the Russia-Ukraine crisis. The leaders of allied countries participating in the call with President Biden were United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson, French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, and Polish President Andrzej Duda. After the conference call, President Biden said to reporters at the White House that there was total unanimity with European leaders on the path forward. The secure conference call among NATO allies came on the same day, January 24, 2022, when NATO announced a coordinated pledge by member states to intensify its defense posture in Eastern Europe and the Baltics in order to reassure allied countries in the region. There was no expectation that NATO countries, including the United States, would become involved in a potential hot war in Ukraine against Russia. Nevertheless, some NATO countries were placing their military forces on standby. As well, the United States had military advisors deployed in Ukraine to help that country deal with a potential Russian attack. Also of significance was the decision to deploy military ships and fighter jets to the region. The actions would include Denmark dispatching F-16 jets to Lithuania, Netherlands consigning F-35 jets to Bulgaria for air policing, French troops deployed to Romania, and Spain directing a frigate to the Black Sea. Meanwhile, the Biden White House was preparing for all scenarios, including, and I quote, prepare to deploy orders. United States Defense Secretary, Press Secretary John Kirby did not specify where the United States troops might be deployed. However, he emphasized that the United States had made it clear to the European flank allies that the United States was prepared to bolster their capabilities if they need it. According to Defense Press Secretary John Kirby, the United States was taking on an anticipatory posture to be prepared for a full range of possible Russian actions. The United States would therefore be ready to respond if the NATO response force was activated. In another measure, making clear the seriousness of the Russian threat, the United States and the United Kingdom announced that they were requesting embassy staff in Ukraine to depart the country. Other stories I'm covering include Burkina Faso, where the military has launched a coup d'etat and seized power, overthrowing President Roch Kabore. The ousted president, who had been elected to power in 2015, was reported to have been detained at a military camp, although at the time of my discussion here, his actual location is not confirmed. On the evening of January 23, 2022, there were several mutinies at army barracks in Burkina Faso. Later on the same evening, heavy gunfire was heard at military barracks and around the president's residence in the capital Ouagadougou. The government was quick to deny that a coup d'etat had taken place, but the reality soon set in when an army officer made the announcement on state television that the government had been removed from power and the parliament was dissolved. For its part, coup leadership said that the president's failure to unite the country and to deal with the Islamic jihadist security crisis in the country led to the decision to oust him. The coup cabal referred to itself as the Patriotic Movement for Safeguard and Restoration, or MPSR, its French acronym. The coup cabal said in a statement, MPSR, which includes all sections of the army, has decided to end President Kabore's post today. Another story I'm covering is the underwater volcanic eruption that unleashed a devastating tsunami in Tonga in mid-January 2022. The eruption of the underwater Hunga Ha'apai volcano was recorded by experts as the biggest recorded eruption anywhere on Earth in decades. In fact, scientists at NASA Earth Observatory said that the Tonga volcanic eruption unleashed explosive forces exceeding that of the Hiroshima atomic bomb. Apart from the physical devastation of the tsunami waves destroying homes and businesses in western Tongatapu, there was also physical damage to property from volcanic ashfall. As well, there was the looming public health crisis as a result of the toxic ash and dangerous smoke contaminating the air and water supplies. Also of concern was the fact that crops were destroyed and at least 2 villages entirely destroyed. In the United States, Prime Minister Boris Johnson was under fire for breaking COVID protocols during the lockdown of 2020 and attending parties. Also problematic for him were claims that he lied about it to Parliament. During question time in the House of Commons, there was some rupture from within the Tories when the Member of Parliament Christian Wakeford resigned from the Conservative Party and walked across the floor to join the opposition Labour Party. In another dramatic moment, a veteran Conservative Member of Parliament and former Cabinet Minister David Davis pilloried Johnson, telling the Prime Minister, "In the name of God, go." The phrase was imbued with notoriety, having been used by Oliver Cromwell and having been directed by Leo Amery at Neville Chamberlain during World War II. It was to be seen if Johnson would endure a further erosion of support, thus leading to a confidence vote and a leadership race. The main contenders for the Tory leadership race, should it ensue, were expected to be Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor of the Exchequer since 2020, and Liz Truss, the Foreign Secretary since 2021. Finally, Chilean President-elect Gabriel Boric has named a majority female cabinet. To recapitulate from weeks earlier, Chile faced a democratic test in the second round of its presidential election that pitted the hard-right candidate José Antonio Cast against the leftist student protest leader Gabriel Boric. Ultimately, Chileans chose to shun authoritarian Pinochet's legacy in favor of the leftist ecologist populist Boric, who won the election with a decisive 10-point advantage. In January 2022, President-elect Boric named his cabinet. Of note was the fact that despite being a clear leftist in the political orientation, Boric selected a mix of not just protest leaders with whom his political predilections were honed, but also technocratic moderates. The cabinet was a majority female cabinet, and the average age of the members of the Boric cabinet was 49 years overall, marking a generation shift in leadership. Among Boric's cabinet selections was Maya Fernandez Allende, who would become the new Minister of Defense in the Gabriel Boric administration of Chile. Fernandez Allende, the granddaughter of former President Salvador Allende, would thus oversee the military that deposed her grandfather in 1973. It should be noted that Gabriel Boric would make history as the new Chilean president by being one of the youngest leaders in the world. At age 35, Boric would be the second youngest leader, representing a new generation of millennial leadership at the helm of governance. Boric was scheduled to be inaugurated into power on March 11, 2022. Subscribers can read more about these and other stories at the Country Watch website at www.countrywatch.com. I'd like to also take this time to mention my comprehensive Afghanistan withdrawal report called Sunset in the Graveyard of Empires, which will be available for purchase from the Country Watch website, also at www.countrywatch.com. Thank you for your time. Have a great day, and remember, now more than ever, we live in an interconnected world.